Monday's initiative here at the Penultimate Conquest. Today's topic is, of course, our discussion of episode 5 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier titled Truth. So strap in because we got quite a show for you today. If you're watching on YouTube, please consider dropping us a like, a sub, and don't forget to hit that bell for notifications on our new shows for the Penultimate Conquest, our TVs and movies show called Cross Media Show, and our anime show, Anime Nation. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Eric Ginn, just one of your friendly neighborhood co-hosts here. This week, both Christian and Ruben, I might say Ryan, Christian and Ruben are out, but like the Avengers, we have assembled a team to help us out. I like to consider it a crossover show because we have the fine, lovely people from Point in Progress. Let me get them out here. First up, she is the queen of anime. The one, the only, Fiona McKinnon. Fiona, how are you doing?
I'm doing so great, and I'm so happy you said that because that just killed Mario inside, and I'm just so living for it because
a little bit.
They make fun of me for talking, like bringing up anime in any way possible during the podcast, so this is just amazing. I'm gonna add that to my Twitter bio.
Please do. You are the queen. Our next guest has the coolest collection of helmets I have ever seen in my entire life. Please welcome back to the show, Frank. Frank, how are you doing, my friend?
Hello, how are you doing, man? How's
Good.
it going?
It has been a while since you and I have spoken on the show, and I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, I'm glad
I
to be
always
back.
love seeing your microphone lit up. That's one of my favorite things when you're on the show. I just stare at your microphone lights. It's incredible.
I do too. It's just like, oh man, look at this thing.
I love you also color-coded. You
Yeah,
got some red, some blue.
A little bit of blue, a little bit of red. Trying to get that Captain America feel. You know what I mean? Trying to get the ambiance right for this discussion.
Of course. And last but not least, he has the coolest green hair in the business. Please welcome to the show, Mario Rivera. Mario, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. My hair is hulking out. I'm just trying to do my thing here, and hopefully it'll be a different color by the next time you see me in the world. So we'll see.
Like a chameleon, he changes colors all the time.
Exactly.
But they're always bright, extravagant, wonderful colors. We are so happy to have you on the show. Now,
Yeah. Thank you.
before we get into the nitty-gritty of this episode, I have a couple of icebreaker questions for you guys. First up, Fiona, what is your favorite Marvel movie? Now, I should preface this by saying if you want like 2003's X2, that's fine too. Just trying to see what your favorite Marvel movie is.
That's tough. It's really freaking tough. I'm trying to think.
Think hard. Think deep. Think well. I'm just stalling for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Think about all of the potential things it could be. It could be David Hasselhoff's Nick Fury. It could be Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher.
Out of
It could be Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider.
That was pretty good. Pretty good.
Great. That was actually really good.
I hate everything about this. I'm just
He's the only one that can walk on both worlds.
True. That's right.
My God. Honestly, I think some of them like really stand out to me, and this might be like a cliche thing, but like I always like resonate with like the first Iron Man movie, just because like that's an iconic movie, and that's like essentially the introduction that we wanted to see of just, that's what I think when I think of like Iron Man. And probably Guardians of the Galaxy, because the music slaps. Like I will listen to the actual albums all the fucking, it slaps. So
Everyone look at Frank's Twitter right now.
No, absolutely not.
What are those, Frank? What are
Nice
those?
little.
Oh, that's what happens when Pip takes over.
I'm so sorry. I'm so I'm gonna
It's
say
so
those
good.
two. But yeah, it's very difficult to like kind of like condense them into like just one, because there's like so many that like they all have like a different reason why like that particular scene or whatever that might be. But I'm gonna stick with those two.
Yeah, it's interesting how the very first movie in a series is still up there with some of the best. You know, you got New Hope is like the only one I could think of where it's like the first one of this franchise is still considered the best.
Yeah.
Fast and
Yeah,
the Furious are not that great,
and still made relevant even today,
right?
specifically, which is
Mhm.
incredible.
Still so good. I'm actually going through the kind of funny MCU in review for the first time, and just they still talk about Iron Man 1 so many episodes into it. That just shows
Yeah.
how great of a movie that is.
Like
It's
it's
a good
So,
it's a good baseline for
Yeah.
the whole universe.
the most iconic scene is when he's just his arms are out and he's not looking at the explosion as it just like yeah, the whole like Lonely Island song, cool guys don't look at explosions. That's
And Tony Stark is the coolest of guys.
There, yeah. It's my Jericho my missiles.
that's a great answer. So, Frank, I know you've answered this question before, but for those who don't remember, what is your favorite Marvel movie?
I don't even remember this changes every other week at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and go with we'll go with Civil War for right now. I know I
Ooh.
probably said something different before, but Civil War, as much as I don't like that it has nothing to resemble with the actual comic book, I do like just what it does in that movie, which is like it makes fans have to pick a side, and both sides are actually pretty correct in the way they're thinking. There's no wrong side. There's whatever moral value you choose, and that's something cool to see in terms of just like real life. Just watching other people like give their reasoning why they think this right or that reason why it's right. Kind of like how when the actual comic came out, and it made me kind of. I think that's the movie where I finally said, "Screw it. I don't care if they're comic book accurate or not. I'm just gonna go along for the ride." And it's from there on definitely a ride.
Absolutely. Still, like that fight just between Team Cap and Team Iron Man, still probably one of the best action scenes we have in the
Oh, yeah.
MCU. It's just so good. Uh, Mario, what is your favorite Marvel movie?
Still to this day, it is going to have to be Captain America: The First Avenger. Is still my favorite entire MCU movie from front to back. It has all the characteristics of both the character and, in course, of the movies that I enjoy, especially growing up. It's very much a movie set in the world of like a mixture of The Rocketeer and Indiana Jones. Obviously, just has this wonderful like retro 50s 40 style, and obviously the World War II, but also just does the character so well and so believable and holds true even to all the way up to Endgame. That character is the same person, and it's not that they don't grow as a character. They do certainly grow. It's just that their moral compass and who they stand in their beliefs carries through all the way through, in my opinion. So yeah, that is my favorite movie by far.
Thank you. The first Avenger is one of the best movies. I love it so much, especially
Yeah.
just him jumping on the dummy grenade right there.
It's
Like,
oh my god, yeah, I get chills thinking about that. I don't like bullies. It's
yeah,
like
that
such a
right
great.
there was like that. Yep, he's ready to hold Mjolnir right there. That scene. So, moving on to our next one, Fiona. What is your favorite Marvel, or who is your favorite Marvel character?
I'm gonna take a guess and say it's Iron Man.
No. I love
okay.
Iron Man.
Okay.
Now, honestly, this is almost like Frank, where it's like it could change like week to week basis. I'm gonna have to say, because I loved one of his comic story arcs, and I'm still to this day, I hope that it becomes a movie series, even though I know it's not going to, because if it was, it would be like on HBO and like it would be restricted to hell, is Deadpool. Mostly because he has Deadpool Kills Marvel, where he goes through all the universes and kills off all the Marvel characters, even through Alice in Wonderland Marvel characters. Also probably have to say Wanda, just because of how like her character was built last like the last show, and just seeing that like it was not even just like the pinnacle of like honestly, at this point. It was a fabulous show from start to finish. It's just, you get to see her story arc. Also, she is an insanely strong character. Like, she was underappreciated, I feel, like, when she was first introduced into the Marvel Universe, like, movies, and then was kind of put in the back seat, and having her now in, like, in the spotlight because of everything that happened. I think I'd probably have to say Wanda.
Great answer. Like Family Feud. Great answer. Great answer. Do that right now. Frank.
Is it Wanda?
Ding. Frank, who is your favorite Marvel character?
On 6 of the 7 days of the week, I would probably say Deadpool, but today I'm going to say Spider-Man. There's something about Spider-Man that you really don't get from other characters in the Marvel, at least in comics. He's the closest feeling to like Batman of that universe than my phone's just ringing.
Frank, you've got mail. Just want you to know.
The 90s called.
Let me go ahead and turn that off really quick.
Oh my God, Tom Hanks just showed up at my door, guys. I don't know what happened.
I still have those AOL discs. I have a disc drive on my new $2,000 PC. But anyway, yeah, Spider-Man's the closest feeling to how Batman's treated in the DC universe. It's kind of like you always get those orchestral tones from him and stuff like that from his games and stuff like that. And Spider-Man is just a very interesting character. Just the different ways he's written. He can either be written as an angsty teen or he can be written as just a superheroic nerd. There's just so many great stories for Spider-Man. And as much as I love Deadpool, 6 days out of 7. Spider-Man definitely has a lot of great stories to kind of go back and reread.
And like the beautiful thing about that is you can also incorporate Miles into that too, because he's still, it's like one of those things where like Spider-Man can be anybody.
Yeah.
And so like Spider-Man is just this overarching thing that people can just latch on. Like there are different parts of it that you can latch onto, and that's what makes the character so great.
Yeah, kind of like the Bat Family almost, when you think about it. I think
So
it's the closest thing to having a Bat Family like that.
Every episode we've had of the show so far, one of our guests Spider-Man always comes up. So that just speaks to the power just of that character. Just after so many years, he's still probably the most popular superhero still out there, right there with like obviously up there with Superman and Batman. So Mario, who is your favorite Marvel character?
It's funny. I have a few. So I'm gonna do some honorable mentions first, but the first one I'm gonna go with honorable mentioning is actually Chase from the Runaways. I just like his powers, or at least his ability to make objects that are kind of cool. That whole team is great. So if you guys have not read or seen any of the Runaways, definitely check it out. Captain America obviously is one of my favorite characters of all time. But the character that I love the most for some reason, and I think it's just because it stems from childhood of watching him in the 90s X-Men cartoon, is Cyclops. For some reason, his design, him as a character, as like the leader of the X-Men, like for some reason, I've always wanted to see him done with justice. And I've never gotten that in any live media whatsoever. So I personally just enjoy, I enjoy my Boy Scouts. He's one of my favorite of the Boy Scouts. Just the person that's just going to lead the team through right or wrong, especially in the later years of X-Men comics.
He's such a leader and stuff, and then you're right, like in the movies, he hasn't been treated with like anything whatsoever. Like in Dark Phoenix, was he tries to step up against Magneto. I'm like, just sit your ass down right now. You're about to get tore up.
Man, Wolverine isn't even in this scene. You better get out of here, son.
No, those are all great answers. Mine, my favorite fictional character of all time is Spider-Man. So specifically Peter Parker. So, but yes, all great answers. And one last quick one. Team Cap or Team Iron Man, Fiona?
This is, once again, you're asking the most difficult questions, Eric. Now, obviously, I talked about the fact that I love Iron Man, but I also love Wanda. And I loved Chris Evans in Knives Out in that sweater.
Oh, God.
That's great. We can use that as the basis for the teams. Chris Evans in a sweater. That helps.
Not the goddamn sweater again.
The sweater.
Please.
You missed the meme. It was the meme when the movie came out. Oh man, so funny.
I swear to God, if I check your Amazon, it's like there's a sweater in there.
Frank, we gotta buy sweaters and just show up on the podcast.
Should buy a white. I have a white sweater. I do.
I'm buying that specific one that he has.
Okay,
and then find it.
either
It's
way.
probably $100.
I'm gonna have to say Team Iron Man.
Mhm.
The team was solid. I know that specific, like, there was a lot of things that I agreed on both sides, but I definitely would have to stick with Iron Man.
I get it's very hard in like a quick question to have like this giant moral compass where you have to pick which side is right. And I think that's why Christian added this question to the show is because, you know, it is an important like that was like the most asked question in 2016. Not who's going to win versus Batman versus Superman, but are you Team Cap or are you Team Iron Man?
I mean, that's a better question.
Yeah. And it just shows how strong these sides are. And that's why, like, every time you watch it, it's like, oh, Tony's got a point here. But Steve's right here. Steve can't be wrong about that. So that you're right. Like that right there, just but Chris Evans in a sweater has to bring it over the top. I mean, that's what it is. Just Chris Evans in general. So, I mean, I get it.
What
So
do you
Frank,
think about Chris Evans in an old man sweater?
she don't think she will.
That's a good one.
So,
I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I cannot
actually,
handle that conversation.
Endgame will show up in this episode. I'm very excited for that. So, Frank,
Yeah.
Team Cap or Team Iron Man, buddy?
Definitely Team Cap. I don't think superheroes should be controlled by the government or anybody else other than their own volitions. But I do agree, some things may need to be kept in check. But you know, I like vigilante superheroes, not government payroll superheroes.
But I think,
Gotcha.
especially with this show, it kind of shows that there needs to be something more than just vigilante superheroes. Because, boy howdy, do shit get real.
Indeed. Mario, same question.
Team Cap all the way. There's no way I would go Team Iron Man. Not even for a second. Not even for a second. Captain America is just right. He's just right.
Okay.
He's doing it also for his friend,
Okay, America.
who's a good dude. All right.
I mean, he killed a man. Many
Under false pretenses and brainwashing.
but he still killed a man.
He killed a lot of people apparently.
So, thank you for those icebreakers. We always like to ask those to get a little feel into what our guests going on in their brains. So, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into this. Remember, tonight, Tessa is going to be streaming Bloodborne again. She's going to continue. She's going on down to Old Yarnum tonight. So, we'll see how that goes. She's starting at 9 o'clock Central Time this evening. So, if you want to catch her slaying some monsters and seeing what that Bloodstar Beast is going to do, check on here on our Twitch channel. All right. Let's get into this episode entitled Truth. So we kick off right at the ending of last week. John Walker has run off into this isolated warehouse and he's still reeling from the death of Lamar and, you know, straight up murdering someone in a city square. Bucky and Sam catch up to Walker and, you know, Walker's having this thing going where he's hearing voices in his head, gets up, time to go to work. Sam asks Walker for the shield. They need it back. John gives the line, "You don't want to do this." And then old Sebastian Stan, old handsome looking self, just looks at him, just goes, "Yeah, we do." And so, fight breaks out between the three, and it shows that Walker is more than a match for our titular duo. At one point, Walker rips off Sam's wings, which was really tough to see. We've grown accustomed to those wings for the last 7 years and just gone.
Clip
Just
those
like
wings.
that.
Or are they?
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll talk about that later.
So there's one point even when Walker has Sam on the ground. He's about to lift his shield up and he screams like, "I am Captain America." Something's Buddy Walker, not a little right in the head right now. And Bucky's able to tackle John off, and Sam and Bucky then break John Walker's arm to try to get the shield off, which was like hearing that sound. I just don't do well with hearing bone crunching sounds. Just like, ugh. And they're able to give Walker a little 619 with the Cap shield. So Walker's all knocked out. Bucky picks up the shield, throws it right at Sam, and just walks away. So talk about a cold opening. That was wild.
Yeah.
Fiona, what are your thoughts on this scene?
Oh wow. Well, one, I totally did something and messed up things. So just give me 1 second here, guys. But as we continue, 1 second here. Do.
I can cover for Shane.
Yeah, why
Alright.
not? Just go for it.
Mario, why don't you
Yeah.
go up first, man?
For the people that can hear my voice, yeah, this scene was very awesome. It very much was in line with a fight scene you would see possibly in like Winter Soldier or in I would say even like the Daredevil TV show, where it was just hand to hand beating each shit out of each other, and that was actually really fun and surprising. I will say I got to give it up to Wyatt Russell specifically in this episode, because oh my god, did he look like his father in some shots, and I got chills because I'm a huge Kurt Russell fan. So to see kind of like a amalgamation of Kurt Russell in a Captain America suit was really kind of cool to see. But yeah, I thought he really brought it in this scene specifically, and I think it was definitely the culmination of like, no, this guy needs to be put down, and they need to actually do something about it, because yeah, he went off the rails. He used a defensive weapon as a bludgeoning object. It was intense. So yeah, I think whatever needed to be done was done in terms of them defeating him and breaking his arm in order to take that from him. Like it was crazy. And then I think one of the coolest shots, yeah, is the wings being cut. So with that, I think that this was a solid way to like kick off what then I think leads to what the rest of the episode is about, which I think is far more important.
Absolutely. Frank, what did you think about this fight scene?
I think it was done really well. It felt just like a Marvel movie scene. It's kind of weird. It's like the way Mario said it, like put down. I kind of get it. Like John in this scene is very much a rabid dog, which could be an effect of the super serum. It's very ambiguous of whether or not like. They say it earlier in the season where it's like it brings out the true person in somebody, and we see this kind of almost facade coming from John Walker up to like maybe closer to like the last few episodes, and you kind of see him now, and you have to wonder, like, is this the super serum messing with them, or is this really who John Walker is? And it's definitely a powerful scene, having the two closest people to Steve Rogers having to rip away the shield from the current Captain America as a kind of way of saying, you are not worthy of this shield at all. It's great.
I noticed like your little hesitation there before you said Steve. It's weird though, because like you want to say Captain America now, but that whole ideal is tainted now.
Yeah.
So like sometimes I even have to say like, oh, Steve Rogers was the ideal. It wasn't just, and so yeah, I just thought that was interesting. You're right. Like it was hard to see Bucky and Sam beat up Captain America in this sense. They've been buddies for this longest time, and it was really hard to see. Fiona, are we good? Are you good now?
Yeah.
All right. What did you think?
Well, I was happy with the conclusion because I will be very honest. I am not particularly thrilled with his rendition of Captain America, and I do appreciate kind of like the parallel between Steve and, why can I never remember his name?
John Walker.
John Walker.
It's the most
Johnny Walker.
white of white
yes,
names.
the whiskey.
He might as well be called John Doe at this point.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, so there's some parallels, especially with him and his actions with the shield, because there were points where Steve had to kind of like hold himself back when he realized that like I'm stronger, and then him realizing that the shield meant so much more than just himself, and he realized that this is something that it represents a group of people, not just himself. And so when John specifically took it out of like just sheer rage and anger and used that shield to not only kill someone, he pretty much decapitated him. We're not going to sit here and like sugarcoat it. He essentially decapitated a man in front of a bunch of people. And so when we saw the infamous duo try to take him down, I was just like, maybe it's the bloodlust that I've received from Attack on Titan. I wanted to see him just get completely destroyed. because it was so heartbreaking seeing that. And I can only imagine, like, maybe even some of the kids who might be seeing this are like, Captain America is like super great. And
Yeah.
now you're seeing this other guy, and it's just like, this isn't the Captain America that I grew up with. And we saw a few flashbacks through the, essentially, like, even some parallels during the episode. And it was just very, very difficult to watch. And so when I saw his arm go backwards, I'm like, and Frank can attest, I was like, hell yeah, go for
Let's
it.
go.
Like, I want to see this. Like,
I think
I
he
want
said
to.
something along the lines of "beat that ass."
It was very heartbreaking, and I can only imagine how difficult it is, especially for Captain America fans who maybe aren't familiar with the comics, and especially John Walker's storyline, because oh boy, he's another person in himself that it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions. And like you said, seeing those wings getting ripped apart, and then even seeing Bucky's arm just like it could have been broken. Like, you saw a bunch of like electricity going through it. He wasn't responding. And it was very heartbreaking to watch this scene. And I don't see any redeemable facts about John right now. Like, he acted out of rage, and I understand that his friend got killed or is dead. We don't know.
I think we can get to some, like Frank mentioned earlier about he had some thoughts about John Walker, and we're about to get to that scene in particular where I think we can discuss where he's doing right now. But an interesting thing of note here is, in Civil War, when Tony was telling Steve, like, you don't deserve that shield, and like that was a moment right there where Steve was like, you're right, I don't. I'm beating up my friends now. I held a secret from my friend for so long. I'm dropping my shield.
Yeah.
Whereas John Walker here, he used it to kill a man, and then he's still going on this thing of like, no, this is mine. Like, I deserve it. And you're right. Like, it's the parallels between these two characters that makes it interesting. Like, Wyatt Russell is doing a very good job of making us hate this guy because we know what we've been used to for these last 9 years that Chris Evans has been in the MCU, or 9 years Chris Evans is in the MCU. And it's just like seeing like that shield and those colors be used for something like that, just so inherently evil, is just, ugh. But then again, John Walker is America.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers is who America thinks it is. So,
Yeah, I think that's a super solid point. I will say they care, and I think that's in line with what Frank will eventually say. That I do think that overall, this character had their own expectations of what they could do and what they could do for the role. And honestly, it's the expectations of Captain. It's always about that goddamn shield. It's always about the person behind it. And then when it gets to your head and you do something so drastic, especially the fact that the serum is making all the good things about John Walker and all the bad things come out even harder. So I think that those tendencies are just, are emphasized by the fact that, he wants to do the right thing and he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he does it in the wrong way.
Well, I think it's almost even like a parallel to what the United States thinks they are in like this climate, is like they see themselves as like the 1940s, like gun-ho, like we believe in the military, everything is great, like we believe in freedom and everything is great, America's number one. And it's just like, sure, in the 40s, that's like, you guys were the like top dog, like band, like Star Spangled Banners and like gun ho, and then now we see like a lot of like what used to be like black and white is very gray area. And I think they actually mentioned that a few times during the series, is there's a lot of gray area. And I think where John has taken this role is, hey, this is how Captain America should be. And maybe Captain America worked great for that in the 1940s, and then going up to modern day as Steve like captivated those particular ideals in a way that was like almost like sugar coated, but also at the same time like it was very much, this is like, it's not just me, like you need to realize that like it's everyone gets affected by this. Whereas John is so in himself at this point, because he's like, he has the burning pressures of the government, the military, not even so much expectations from his wife, but maybe just like he thinks that he doesn't want to fail her, and then I'm never going to be as good as Captain America. Like, Captain America was on a pedestal, and then now he's seeing, like, okay, this is essentially the same way that the United States is. But that's a whole other thing, not going to go into it. But there was a lot of things going wrong with John.
When we get to the scene where we talk about like the arrangement of what they say, I have a lot to say at that point. So when we press on.
Of course, absolutely. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's a valid point that you make. So before we get into that, nice little scene here of the government has taken over, the manhunt for Carly, and Torres meets up with Sam, saying, "Yeah, like you're benched right now. That's all you can do." And Sam's about to leave, and says, "Oh, you don't want your wings?" And Sam's like, "Keep them." So it's like right there, it's like he's giving like that. That's it. That the Falcon monitor is done. Moniker is done. That's it right there. He's no longer going to be Falcon. And so, like how the episode goes, we get Sam to where he's, supposed to be, where he deserves to be in this time. So let's get to the important scene that we probably want to talk about. So Walker faces a tribunal for his actions in Latvia. He's called government official on IMDb. Government official strips Walker of the title of Captain America and gives him a less than honorable discharge. He will have no rank in retirement. Walker is furious and tells them that he only did what they asked him to do, and he followed their rules. And the tribunal, the government guy says, "We want the shield back, by the way." I know it's like that's a few sentences to describe what really happened, but there's so much in this scene right here. Frank, I'm actually going to start with you because I know you probably had the most thoughts about this. So tell us what you got.
So I just want to preface this by saying I don't agree with John Walker's methods. I wholeheartly believe he's kind of a douche, but you got to kind of understand the people that you're kind of hating on and understand why they do what they do. And what I thought when I saw John Walker was this is a man in a totally different war. Captain America came from a very valorous, very honorable, very, wholeheartedly goody two shoes feeling kind of war for America. And if you remember correctly, the way the U.S. government wanted Captain America to originally be was just a poster boy at the end of the day. He was only supposed to be like at events and stuff like that, which is very close to how this Captain America is set up as well. He's on posters, he's on walls, he's on everything. He's got marketing.
They play the same song. The songs from the USO. It's crazy.
Stuff like that. But we also have to understand that Steve came from a Brooklyn setting. It was Brooklyn. I can't remember. It was Bronx. Yeah. Bronx.
He's just a kid from Brooklyn.
Just a kid from Brooklyn, right? Just a kid from Brooklyn. And John Walker is a man who is very much a product of today's military standards. He probably did some crazy stuff when he was out there. Him and
in Afghanistan.
Lamar.
Yeah, him and Lamar definitely say that last episode is like, think of the stuff that we had to do to get our stripes. You know what I mean? Like and that mentality definitely makes him think that he's on the right side because he's also being told by the military that you're doing good, dude. Like here's your Medal of Honors, here's your accolades. This is your path. You're doing well. You're in the shoes of Captain America. But little does he know he's straying way, way far from the path. In a way, I don't blame him for that. Because he's only doing what he's told. Whereas Steve said, "Screw you guys, I'm gonna do what's right." And in a way, I feel bad for him because at this point in the court-martial, they just kind of leave him. They say, "You know what? You're a rabid dog. We're putting you down. Good luck. Have fun. We're taking everything you've built up in your life, all the stuff that you did for us, gone." All the mentions of you gone. Like it's all going away. And I wonder what that's going to do for the image of Captain America itself and also the image of the US government. Because at the end of the day too, you also have to see the other side of it is like there are going to be people out there who saw what John Walker did and think that it was right. And Fee actually brought this up later in a scene where like hate to bring it up so early, but Walker's talking to his parents, and his parents are being very nice to him. And I told Fia, I'm like, if your kid died and the killer was apprehended and killed, a lot of those parents would not necessarily blame the person for killing them. They would actually think they were right. And I'm wondering how that image of Captain America will now be like, okay, now we're split. Do you want Steve Rogers Captain America, who brought people in and let these people go, like Zemo and all those people? Or are you on the John Walker side of, these people are evil and they must be stopped, and with any means necessary? And that might be from what that lady shows up. I don't know who the lady is. I don't read too much into like other than Spider-Man, but if I had to guess, she's either CIA or Hydra, and I'm more leaning on the Hydra side because she's kind of creepy. But yeah, other than that, I do wonder how the image, like, because he's gonna come. We're gonna spoil that now, but we're gonna.
Can I speculate?
There's got to be something that there's gonna be a divide here. I believe from here on out.
Can I speculate a little bit?
Sure. Yeah.
Are we just gonna talk about that scene specifically?
Oh, we're about to get to that. I was wondering, like, now with the
get into it, and then I'll talk about it there then.
Okay, and just so I think you're right here. You're definitely, because a thing I think about is why Steve worked is because he was a man out of time, and that when he comes into this era, he still has, like, back then in the 40s, there was right and there was wrong. There was the Axis powers, and there were the Allies powers, and so being out of time, being in that whole there is right and there is wrong, that's what helped Steve. And throughout Winter Soldier and Civil War, he's constantly telling the American government, "Screw you. This is not right." Whereas John Walker is, "Yep, government. Yep, I'm here for the government. Yep, I'm gonna walk around in my Captain America attire the whole time. You see this shield? You know who I am? Blah blah blah." That stuff like that. And Steve is just not that. Like, this is not the right thing to do. So you make some excellent points there, Frank. Like, it's just John is I don't want to say victim, because it are his actions. He did kill a person. Yeah. But he was messed up by the government.
Yeah, he's a product of early 2000 war.
That's the word I was trying to think of. Like, what is it? Brain fart product. He is a product of how he was trained.
Yep.
And so I have this pen now. I'm using this pen a lot.
No, I mean, it's a wand, right? Anything can
happen. There's definitely one more big detail between Walker and Steve too, is that Steve also had his ensemble of friends who kind of kept him in check almost. You know what I mean? Whenever he kind of felt astray, even in like movies like Civil War, where he's like, "Is this the right thing to do?" And people were like, "Yeah, you're in the right, man." And now Walker, it seems like his only real friend was Lamar. Right, and Lamar was definitely the moral compass person. Like, he would always keep him kind of in check. Like, this is the right thing to do. We can do it this way, stuff like that. Now that he's dead, what does Walker really have left?
Yeah, it's crazy that it's a parallel to Steve and Bucky, because Bucky quote unquote dies in the first Avenger, and he handles it in a totally different way than when John Walker does.
So Fiona, do you have any thoughts more on, like, this tribunal scene of Walker being stripped of all his stuff?
Well, as someone who grew up in a old school military home, this was a difficult scene to say the least. I grew up with my grandparents. My grandfather was a lieutenant colonel in the Canadian military, in the like Korean War, as well as, like, he was stationed in Washington during the riots in the 60s. So it's things like that. Just, like, I was always kind of taught, like, the right and wrong, like, not even that, like, you could almost even say, like, the, like, Christian kind of, like, right and wrong, everything is this or that. And then it's just like, that's not how obviously things go. And as you become an adult, you realize there are definitely gray areas. And I think that seeing, like, what's been happening since, like, the early 2000s, and a lot of men and women who are coming back from war, it's a lot different. And when you get recruited, you get told that, like, everything is great in the military, you get to be a part of your, like, nation, and you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z, and then you come back and it's just like, here's some medals and you're now done with us. And it's just like, okay. And a lot of these people rely on things like the checks or like even some sort of like compensation for their time, and he just got stripped of all of it. Those 3 medals, that gone. Him like being Captain America, gone. Him being recognized by the military, gone. Like everything that he's spent years upon years has lost not only his best friend but probably other guys as well. Like we don't know anything about his like actual past during the military. We don't know what happened when he was stationed over in Afghanistan. Like
vagueness.
There's so much vagueness, and I don't want to say that I personally, once again, I do not like this character, not just from this but from the comic books as well. And so I don't think that this is any like just to meet the means, but it's difficult to watch. And even though he did one thing, and yes, he tarnished the Captain America name and the blood on the shield, and it just like a representation of like where Captain America is at this point. It was definitely a difficult scene to watch, and I wouldn't expect anything less, especially from a normal person, let alone him. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Mara, do you have any more thoughts before we get into this this nice cameo?
Yeah, the only last thought I have, and it's just connecting it back to the fact that we're talking about the early 2000s Afghanistan war, and the interesting thing, and it's a parallel between these two characters, is that Sam and John Walker both fought in the same war, but they are both coming at it at very different ways. And John Walker stayed in the military, it seems, and still served his time, while I feel Sam took his time to help others, right? Because if you remember, first time we ever see, we see him obviously with the on your left, but the actual where he is and where he's from and what he's doing is he's helping others in the veteran hall by counseling, which he does so well in this episode, and we'll get to that as soon as we do.
Absolutely.
I do have one more thing to say about this.
Yes,
you
Frank.
just brought up, and I just thought about it. Not only is there a stark difference between Steve and John, but keep in mind there's also a very stark differences in the wars that Isaiah and
Steve
Falcon fought in.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah. They're both in a war, but both treated very, very, very differently.
Very rapidly differently.
Yeah. Definitely going to get to Isaiah here in a bit. So we're getting to a thing where Walker is talking with his wife, and then we hear some heels going on the floor, and all we know, and walks one Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Oh my God.
Goddamn mind.
She radiates in her. I don't care what she's in. She could be in any commercial. It's dog food. She is fantastic in everything she is. And I was like, oh my God, Elaine!
And we didn't know about it.
Right, and that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there was someone throughout the week, like, there's going to be a major MCU cameo this week. I'm like, who could it be? And then I saw a friend, someone on Twitter is just like a picture of Don Cheadle from Space Jam trailer where he's like, it's like my face when that actress shows up. I'm like, oh my God, who is it? She comes up, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, and she talks.
Madam Hydra.
Madam Hydra, that's what it is. I couldn't remember what her actual comic name was.
Hydra.
Yeah, former flame of Nick Fury, was a Shield agent for so many years, became Madam Hydra, and then became something else entirely. So we'll see what she is in this show.
So she comes up to Walker and she's you did the right thing by taking the serum. You did a good job, and you've caught some attention of a third party here. Here's my card. We'll call you. And Walker just has like this, what the hell? I just got like probably the most embarrassing moment in my life right now, and now this lady's coming up to me and like offer me a job and stuff. What the hell? There's nothing on the card even. So just Julia Dreyfus in the MCU. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So does anyone have any thoughts on
just gotta speculate something.
All right, what's up?
And it's gonna combine to another scene later, but there's a certain character also going to a facility a raft, if you will. And I have a striking feeling that this is the setup for the Thunderbolts, because we have Zemo going to the raft, which is owned by, not owned by, run by General Thunderbolt Ross. And then you got this, where it's like an invitation to do something. And I'm like, are they straight up setting up MCU's version of Suicide Squad right now?
Some kind of Suicide Squad.
And I'm like, and then who's running? Is it going to be fucking Zemo, or is it going to be Captain America? I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, that's my speculation, is that they're tied in some way. I'm hoping that they're tied. They could be two separate things, but they're still setting this up by far, and I'm excited for that.
So the interesting thing is that Julia Dreyfus, her introduction to the MCU was supposed to be in Black Widow, apparently. But I guess that, like, you know, it kind of fits, like, this nice introduction is like, who is this mysterious lady? So it's great. I love that she's in it. You know, let's get Ewan McGregor in the MCU now. Let's just get our
Just get
favorite people we want. Yeah. So
get Seinfeld in there. Why not? We had Gary Shandling in there. Why not?
Frank, you got any thoughts on this scene?
I was trying to think. I was trying to five head this a little bit while you guys were talking, and I'm trying to think if this is. Yeah, it could be definitely a setup for the Thunderbolts. I definitely think we're gonna see a very controversial comic book scene sometime in the future, where if you remember correctly, everybody was really mad when Captain America all of a sudden turns and goes "Hail Hydra." I think we're definitely going to get a version of that Captain America. And if you remember correctly, during that whole arc of that like Hydra Cap, we had a Steve Rogers, I believe, who was also old, and he definitely comes back and whoops some ass. So they find a way to reverse that aging that he was getting. So I'm wondering if they're really trying to do something like that later on down the road, where a Captain America comes in and, you know, beats him up down the road, because we know Falcon's probably going to beat him up this time. You know what I mean? But later way down the road, see something like that. But I'm now that I know that she's Hydra, definitely gives a few ideas here of what's going on. Especially like how is she gonna convince, you know, somebody who is a proud blue American man that a once Nazi organization is something he should work for. And I think they're definitely going to play on the fact that Hydra was taking over the government for a very long time, and all the stuff that was kind of happening could have been them doing things in Iraq and all that. Like, you know, all the orders came from them originally, so that might play on him. But I'm curious on how they get him to play ball.
Gotcha. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully we see a little bit more. Fiona, do you got some thoughts?
Well, I'm excited to see another strong, badass female join the frickin' roster. Even though I'm... what a character. I'm interested to see where she goes, and where she takes where currently ex-Captain America at this point. We're just gonna call him John.
Yeah, I think you just call him John Walker right now.
Yeah, because
he's stripped of that title.
Because they haven't given him his other title that's in the comics.
Not yet.
No, so I'm not gonna talk about that. Other than the fact that there's things that even happened in the last there's a few things that he's particularly correlated with, but obviously he's not associated with those particular points because he wasn't Captain America at that point. So I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole comic book thing. But I am interested to see where it goes. Hopefully we see more of her maybe in the next episode in some way, shape, or form, or maybe it's just that's all we're going to see of her this particular season. But yeah.
All right. Just what a badass entrance. Just like the heels clicking on the stone. Just like, oh, who is this?
She had like the whole entire narration, called his wife a firecracker, said like, we'll call you, gives him the calling card, and just walks off. That's all she does. Like, and everyone is freaking out. And I think that was such a great entrance. And also, like, she didn't need to say much. She didn't need to like give us her whole background story. She's just like, this is my name. we want you. We're gonna hire you. We'll call you. Peace. And then like leaves.
Yeah, I will say that her introduction though got to be way more excited for Black Widow if it's gonna still be in there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now I think it's time to move on to probably the two most important scenes in this episode. So we head over to Sokovia, and Zemo is staring at what appears to be the Sokovia mural statue commemorating the Ultron attacks. Bucky approaches Zemo to share a conversation, saying, "Hey, Bucky, you're the only one that can do what needs to be done right now because we both know that Sam won't kill Carly." Bucky has a moment where he just aims the gun at Zemo and just fires and clicks. No bullet comes out. And then you have that cool shot of Bucky dropping all the bullets in his hand. And it was like a symbolization where it's just, I'm not the Winter Soldier anymore, man. Like, this isn't me anymore. And I think it was really nice that he spoke with Zemo about it because, Zemo is the one that sent him on that tirade in Civil War. So it's just he's trying to get some closure right here. So I thought that was really nice for Bucky. The Dora Milaje come in. They take Zemo. They say they're going to take him to the raft, which Mario was mentioning earlier. And then Bucky calls in one more favor from the Wakandans. So I know we have a very, very heavy scene coming up next. But does anyone have any thoughts about Bucky's closure with Zemo right here? Let's start with you, Mark. Yeah.
Other than it, like I said, I think it's clearly setting up the Thunderbolts, and I'm sure we'll see this Zemo again because I feel like this was, as much as yes, he's the villain of Civil War, this show had done a great job of just making him fun and interesting, and obviously, release the Zemo cut of the 1 hour dancing. So I think people are definitely warmed up to him. He's still a bad guy, or at least has bad ideals. And I take that back. He's probably he's a murderer. It's so hard. But at the same time, I feel like this gives him enough credence so that way, if we eventually get a Thunderbolt show or movie, that at least we're behind him, whatever they're doing. So that's all I'll really say.
Well, I think
he's definitely a villain, but you understand him at least.
Yeah, well, he's also like a very morally gray character as well, because I'm not condoning any of the deaths that he specifically caused during any of the MCU, so don't come at me. He had a reason for it though, and it's not just like, I want to kill. It was like, hey, my entire family got murdered, and so I'm now taking it out. Not saying that it's okay. Do not use murder for murder. Just saying that, guys.
Killed a man.
But I think, especially with this, like his 4-episode story arc at this point, it definitely pulls on the heartstrings at some points. Like him, like talking to children, and it's not trying to be like weird or anything. It's just like, hey, like I recognize that like these like kids probably, 1, are in a terrible area, and 2, just like yes, he used them for information. Was that great? No. Did he bribe him with candy? Absolutely.
With candy?
And money for his family, for their family.
To be clear, he bribed them with Turkish delights. If you are a Lion Witch in the Wardrobe fan, that is a very specifically good reference there.
Yeah, I was upset to see the character go. Even though yes, he's done a bunch of terrible things. I think this definitely took him from like evil to morally gray area, and then I think, like Mario said, if they bring in the Thunderbolts, that you're more on like, okay, awesome, we get to see Zemo again, because he brought a lot of character to the show, and it was like really entertaining to see some of his scenes and his banter back and forth with Bucky. And then just, it kind of brought it full circle where, like you said, the bullets like fall to the ground. He's like, I'm not that person anymore. Is at the very first scene that we see them in the show was they see each other, and then he starts listing off the words to Bucky to see if he could activate him, and he's like, he didn't even make a face. And then we saw a flashback of when they oh my god, I forget, someone was specifically saying the words to Bucky, and he starts crying.
It was Io the beginning of the last episode.
Oh, yes.
Montage.
Yes. My apologies. I watched all the episodes yesterday in like one condensed thing, so Whew. Yes. So I think that it was really interesting to see at the very end, like, I'm not this person anymore. So that kind of like closed the book on that particular like interaction between each other. And I think they might have some sort of moral respect and some way, once again. I just want to put it out there. Murder is not okay. But I think they have an understanding, and him saying like, hey, I crossed my name off in your book because we're even.
Okay.
And then that was it. So
yeah. All right. Now I think it is time to get to probably the most impactful, emotional, most hard-hitting, most honest and true scene the MCU has ever had.
The thesis of the show, as far as I'm concerned.
So Sam goes to Baltimore to visit Isaiah Bradley, and you can see that Sam has the shield in bag, and Isaiah's in the back watering plants, tending to his garden, and looks at Sam's like, "Is that what I think it is?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm here to return it." You just, "Nope, I don't want that. Don't give me that white boy shield." And so, and they go inside, they sit down, and whew, this it's like talking about it again. Still, it's very tough. It's very tough to talk about something like this. So
I
Isaiah
watched it in VR crying. Like I had the goggles on, I was crying underneath my VR headset.
It was it's tough because Isaiah goes more into his backstory and talks about how he shows him a box. These are letters from my wife who I didn't know. I hadn't spoken to her. There was a 30-year period where I didn't know she was writing to me, and goes more into his backstory. Like, we took the serum. They didn't tell us what it was, and that mirrors, into real life things. 1921 Tuskegee syphilis experiment that they did, and it's just like, went to the Korean War. I saved the POWs. I saved my platoon. I saved my men, and they still are trying to wipe out all the evidence. I was a hero, and what they do, they locked me and they experimented on me for 30 years. All these terrible things happened to me. I got out because a nurse took pity on me and grew a conscience and declared me dead. And, Isaiah shows the scars of the experimentation to Sam. And, Sam is, Steve was the one. Steve didn't put you in jail. It's like, no, but, the the government and stuff, the military, those people, they're the one who threw me in there. The people that idolized Steve and stuff, Captain America at that time, they put me in there. And, Sam tries to like, oh, I could tell people your story. We can get it out there. And Isaiah's just like, no, just keep me buried, please. They've been doing this to African Americans for 500 years. Nothing's going to change. No matter what you think you do when you have that shield, nothing's going to change. And then he gives probably the two most the important lines in the episode, where he says they will never let a black man be Captain America, and if they did, no self-respecting black man would ever do that. And it's just, whew, just reading like a few sentence summary, it's tough because it's exactly what's happened. That's real life right there, and these two fictional characters talking to one another, that is what America is right there. That's history right there in those lines. And it's just, it hurts. And, people talk about it. The conversation discourse over the show the last weekend, that's what it is. Like, people, I have friends and stuff talk about, like, well, I wish they didn't bring that stuff in the show. Well, tough. That's what you need to hear. Like, the MCU needs stuff like this. Like, obviously it's great that we have, like, talking trees, talking raccoons and stuff. It's fun to have that kind of escapism, but people need to see this stuff right here. It needs to be in your face with your favorite heroes. You have to talk about this because it's still going on.
Yep.
And just the pain and suffering, and just Carl Lumbly just gives probably the performance of the show in this talking right here. And it's just like nothing can be done for me anymore. Please just let me die. Like, he's had a horrible life, and it's just, who Fiona, I hate to ask on you first, but what are your thoughts about this?
For the people who are saying that this conversation shouldn't be here, honestly, it would make, like, just like you said, you can have talking trees, you can have talking raccoons, you can have an entire, like, 3.5 billion people blink off the face of the earth for 5 years and then come back, but having a conversation that's as real as this gets you uncomfortable, then that's too much. Like, this is it's an unfortunate reality that's still happening to this day. And even though Captain did like, Steve gave him the shield, he passed it over to him, and yeah, that's great that he did that. But and I love Steve as a character, but also it's 100% true. Like, putting an African American man in the Captain America suit, it should happen. I 100% think that, but at the same time, I also understand that the ideals of what Captain America was back in the 1940s was a blonde, blue-eyed white man, being the face of America. This is the face of America, and that was drilled in everyone's minds at that time. And then having that in the 2020s, at, like, in this particular point, I think it's 2023 timeline.
Like that.
Yeah, it's around that timeline. Is I definitely
Shocker. During the blip, we still didn't figure out racism.
Yeah, we didn't figure out racism. We didn't figure out how to specifically deal with that. And I think where Isaiah was coming from was, like, while we were cheering and excited for the face of America, which was Captain America, they took one of the last super soldiers and incarcerated him for 30 years and used him as essentially as a pincushion to test out different things and see how we could replicate this, because we're just going to put this into a bunch of people, and like you said, this is definitely real, and especially during those particular times, doing experiments on soldiers and then just sending them off, or just, like, infecting them and see how it happens, or, like, whatever that might be, saying, like, oh, you have tinnitus, oh, here's a shot for it, and go on your merry way. That's a very real thing. That's not a joke. That's what happened. And integrating this into the show brings a little bit of, like, more realism to it. And I think this was definitely an impact that, yes, I'm sorry for the people who are upset that they brought something incredibly real like racism into the show and brought it to light, makes you upset. Then that's a problem. Like, if you're getting upset about it, like, that's on you, because this is something that people live with every single freaking day. And so bringing it into the show, oh goodness, you have to listen to someone talk about this for 10 minutes. People live this 24/7. So get over it. Recognize that this is a problem, and that, unfortunately, Isaiah's character, would it have been cool to see him as Captain America at some point? Absolutely. Do I think that Sam should have been Captain America? 100%. But I also think that putting just, like, it could be put into another way, like, we're just putting an African American into a suit just so we can, like, try to, like, push a specific narrative. That's not the case. Like, it's so difficult, because conversations like this are definitely difficult to have, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. And showing this to children as well, like, recognizing, like, hey, this is unfortunately the world that we live in. People, like, I'm, as a white woman, don't have to experience it, and I get to see my friends deal with it on a constant basis. And so I apologize for going on a specific rant about this, but
no, this is okay. Like you said, the conversation is important. So, like, this is one of those where it's just like, obviously, we try to have the time limit here, but this is something that you can't put a time limit on. Like, this is a conversation that needs to be had. Like, take as much time, like, the three of you guys, as much time as you want to talk about this. Please go ahead.
I think this was very well written, and I think this was a conversation that was very blunt, but also it needed to be said. Like, and I also think that kind of put a lot of pressure on Sam throughout the rest of the episode. Is this like, he's right. And
he is.
Yeah, it once again kind of, like, puts a unfortunate, like, huge, like, banner in blinking lights that this is still an issue. So yeah,
it's a problem. And I wish I had more words. I wish I was thesaurus right now, walking thesaurus. But it's hard to put into words. It really is. So Frank, what do you think, man?
I agree with a lot of what Fee said. I will say this one. Can I swear on this show?
You can.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
If you think this is a conversation that didn't need to be had and that it's out of the ordinary, you can go fuck yourself.
Mhm.
I don't understand how you can sit there and tell me that this is out there, because it's very obvious that Steve wasn't. They didn't just get the serum right. You know what I mean? Like there's experiments there, and when Steve was gone, of course they're going to experiment even more.
Mhm.
They have Hydra agents working now. You know,
Mhm.
people who, in history, experimented on people. Even the U.S. government experimented on people. So you can't tell me that. Oh well, having this conversation about a black Captain America is just so out of the ordinary and shouldn't be in a show like this. No, this is what the show is building towards.
Mhm.
Is a black Captain America, and if that bothers you, then fuck right off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe Marvel Comics is not for you.
From
Mhm.
shot one of this show, it was always about this.
It was
Mhm.
always about this. It was always
lit.
about the someone rising up to that notoriety and them being a black man. Even I mean that'll come up later, but even Steve thought this was right. And if you're gonna sit there and tell me some dude's gonna sit there and tell me, oh, you know, Steve's the coolest character in the world, but I think he's wrong about giving it to Falcon. It's like get the fuck out of here, dude.
I think it's interesting. The head writer of the show, Marcus Spellman, I believe his name was.
Malcolm
He
Spellman.
Malcolm Spellman. This is the second time I got it wrong. I said Marcus last week. Malcolm
No, it's
Spellman.
okay.
He talked about how, a quote I saw was, with this show, you can't overlook the trauma that Bucky has dealt with, and you can't overlook the fact that Sam is a black man.
Mm.
Like I thought, like that was a pretty powerful quote, for that. And so, and people talked about, had Steve found out all these experiments were happening, he would have busted that shit wide open. Like, nope, that. But then again, it's a thing where, like, can't have, like, Steve can't be coming to the rescue for everything. Like this is something where it's
Eric, he did in his own movie. He went into a factory, saved all of those people, and was rewarded for it. I know what you're saying.
yeah. I'm saying for the
No, I
Isaiah
know.
Bradley stuff.
Well, I know. I'm just paralleling it because he did that and he was touted as a hero.
Mhm.
Bradley does the same goddamn thing
Mhm.
and gets fucking thrown in jail. That's
Exa-
what
yeah,
I'm paralleling.
The parallels there, like, I'm just saying, like, had Steve found out that what they were doing to Isaiah was happening, he would have busted that. But then it's a thing where it's like, do we need a white man saving? And it's like, you don't want to get into like that. I've seen that's just anecdotally on the internet, like, for the past weekend.
okay.
Like, had Steve found out about what they were doing to Isaiah, like, is it like, I'm getting way too ahead of myself.
Yeah.
But here,
Well,
like, you make a good point.
Yeah.
Isaiah, super heroic. He saved countless lives, and then he's thrown away. And Steve does the same exact thing. Give it up for Captain America, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you make excellent point right there.
And the show is
Mario.
built on trauma. That's what this show is. Everybody here has their trauma. The terrorist group, it's people who have lost something.
Yep.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You hate to see what they've become, but it doesn't come from just nowhere. They didn't just say wake up one morning and go, I'm going to be a terrorist group. No, there's a reason why they're there, and there's a reason why Bucky is facing his trauma. There's a reason why Falcon's facing his trauma. You have Zemo, who also, had a traumatic experience and had to do something about it. Everybody here is facing that trauma, and to say that, like, as soon as the spotlight, even John Walker, to say that, like, as soon as a black man starts talking about his trauma, that it's like that's too much for some people. It's like, why is it okay when Bucky and Cap are talking about theirs, but as soon as a black man wants to talk about his, it's like, oh, this is too political for me.
Well, okay, let's talk about a narrative. We take out the fact that Isaiah is black and then talk about, like, let's say we change him up with Steve. Steve was Steve went to the Korean War. Steve had his team. He then ended up in jail for 30 years. What are people going to say? Are they going to say, "Oh no, it's so sad that happened to him. He should definitely get the shield. Like, they should find a way to fix it." And then the second that it's Isaiah, they're like, "We should not be having this conversation. That's unacceptable." Like,
No.
if you have a problem with him talking about what happened, like you said, if people have an issue with him talking about his trauma, go fuck yourself. Like, that's his story. That's his unfortunate story. Like, he, from start to finish, he missed out on all these letters and his wife dying. He missed 30 years of his life stuck in a jail cell because he tried to save people. The same thing that Captain America did, the same thing that Iron Man did, the same thing that everyone else has done, essentially, in this freaking universe. And then the second that... I get really irritated by stuff like this. And hearing people saying that is just fucking bonkers to me.
There is an interesting conversation to be had specifically about Black trauma in media. I know that it's a big issue happening right now with the show Them on Amazon and that Netflix short that came out about the Groundhog's Day, about the cop shooting the black man every day. And then even this in some aspects. I think that's an interesting conversation to have. I just don't think it's not saying our conversation. It's a conversation that should be heard. But in terms of when it comes to this show, I do think it's very important, especially where we are. If we're just gonna hand him the shield and he's just gonna be Captain America, I just don't think that it's realistic. So I think the show does, at least out of all of the trauma stuff that Lovecraft Country, you can throw everything out there. At the very least, I think this handles it in a subtle way, building up to obviously the thesis of the show, which I think is surrounding that. And again, the show is also called Falcon and Winter Soldier. So yes, and I think Eric, you brought up that great quote. 100%. That's the thesis of Falcon's story, and the trauma and everything that Bucky's going through. That's the thesis of his story.
So, yes, that may be the best conversation we've had here on Marvel Mondays Initiative. So I want to thank you guys for that. I think it's really good. Like stuff like that.
Ruben would just be like, "Oh, I thought it was pretty good."
That's the important stuff right here. Like we can talk about all the fun, Cap throwing shields. We can talk about Spider-Man swinging through New York and stuff, but that stuff right there, that's the important stuff. So gonna fast forward a little quickly through all this stuff. So Sam goes back to my home state of Louisiana. Hell yeah, excited to see it again. Spends time with the family. Spends time with his family. He and Sarah starting to fix the boat, sell it. Whole town comes up to help the Wilson family out. Even Bucky shows up, starts doing some HGTV shit up in there, some sanding, some painting. And then as it goes on, Sarah decides, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna sell our legacy. Bucky flirts with Sarah a little bit. I was about to say Bucky flirts with Sam, like, I'm sure Tumblr. It's already there on Tumblr for that.
It's already happened.
So Bucky also brings a mysterious package from the Wakandans. And then we go to what we talked about earlier, mentioned it. Walker goes to see Lamar's family, and he talks to them about, hey, I got justice for Lamar. I got the guy who killed him. So straight up lie. So, and Ruben, I think like this pen now, I'm going to use it forever on the show. I really like it.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you guys for doing this show today. I've been listening to it for the past 15 minutes.
So you heard me talk shit. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to say thank you because that possibly might have been the greatest conversation we've ever had on any of the stuff that we do. It literally brought me to fucking tears. So thank you very much.
Sorry.
Oh no.
That's okay. That's
Sorry
okay. It's good tears.
for
Good tears. Good tears. Yeah, keep on kicking ass, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
So we get to a pretty, and that's why we do it, boys and girls. That's why we have conversations like that, because they're very important, and it still goes on today. So our stance here at the Penultimate Conquest: racism fucking sucks. So stop it. Looking at you right now. Just looking at racism.
You Ben Shapiro. You
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, you fuck.
I can only think of Ben Shapiro now with the Aquaman thing. So it's like, just one small problem. Sell the homes to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman. So we get to another important part of the show where Bucky and Sam, just have a catch with the shield. I love this. I love that we're just lightly
so
tossing
good.
it like it's a football
Oh
or
my God.
something.
It's such a bro moment.
Yeah.
And then they go into, Bucky's personal trauma here, where it's he talks to him, gives him a little tough love. Where he's like, "Hey man, you can cross names off of a list, but that's not going to help. You need to be of service. You can't just say, oh, I'm sorry. You need to be better than that. You need to go and say, look, I know I did bad things. Let me help. Go to one name on that list and be of service." And I think pretty much all as viewers, we know where it's like, oh no, that conversation
Yeah.
about to happen.
Yeah.
And so, and then, I was mentioning earlier the Endgame reference, how I said I was going to show up. Bucky brings it back to Endgame. He says, Steve was about to tell me what he was going to do. And so that's why people were like, well, why didn't Steve talk to Bucky there towards the end? Where it's like, because he already knew what was going to happen. He knew the shield was going to Sam, regardless of what people thought. And he was like, we had no idea sometimes the struggle that this would be. And, conversation we just had, they just didn't realize, they're not part of it. They're not part of, like Fiona said, they're not dealing with this 24/7. Obviously, it's going to be out of sight, out of mind sometimes. So I think that was very important for Bucky to be like, look, I'm sorry I pressured you so much about all this throughout, these last 5 episodes about the shield and stuff. Like, we just didn't know. And, them talking about, hey, look, we're I wouldn't say we're friends, co-workers, partners, and stuff like that. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, that was really good.
And so then we get to the cool 80s montage of Sam training with the shield. Hell yeah. I was wanting some like Rocky music going on and stuff. Sam's doing flips, catching shit.
Parkour.
I was having a conversation with someone like, well, they look like they were having so much fun when they were lightly tossing it, but he was struggling during the workout. I'm like, yeah, because he's fucking throwing the thing at like so many miles an hour. It's going to be hard to catch. So, and my favorite scene of the episode was when Sam's nephew like admires the shield, like him throwing it. Like, there it is. Like, that's, that is what that shield is supposed to represent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for many people, it doesn't represent that, but that's what it's supposed to be right there. It's supposed to be hopeful. And it's never about the shield, as Sam said in the first one. It's the person who is wielding it. So that's why, like, you get hopeful again, because the person who's supposed to be wielding the shield is now wielding it. You never got that hope with John Walker. You got that hope with Steve, but now you have it back again, what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be uplifting. But you can't forget the history that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been through. But I thought it was important. I thought it was important to show his nephew smiling, looking at that S.H.I.E.L.D. Because, as Captain America fans, like, that's what it's supposed to be right there.
Calling
and then
Uncle Sam.
Okay. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I was like, damn.
So I have this, if anyone has any thoughts, like so far, I know we've kind of gone to overdrive here. I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about ending stuff here. Does anyone have any thoughts about the cool 80s montage other than was fucking awesome?
No, it was awesome.
Did you believe the shot that everyone keeps saying is a reference to On Your Left, where he's on the right side of the screen?
Possible.
It's possible. It is an interesting way that they framed it, for sure. But yeah, I was very keen eyes. People pointing that out. I was like, that's damn. I felt
the show has been On Your Left the whole time. First episode, we looks on his left and there's Steve, and it's just like, oh man, stop it, guys. We know Steve's gone. Okay.
God, please.
Yeah.
He just shows up and he's wheeling up in his wheelchair,
wearing a sweater.
Old man Steve wearing a white sweater.
So I had this in all caps here with question marks, like Sharon released Batroc from prison.
Yeah.
So Sharon,
what's up with Sharon?
Oh, I think like every episode I'm like, oh, this kind of confirms that she may be the power broker. This might confirm, like, but then I'm like, she released him from prison. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh my stars.
I think that was definitely a Bucky and Falcon move because they really Zemo for the same reasons. And
Yeah.
obviously this man is bait to figure out where the last of these people in the terrorist group are.
Yeah. So Batroc meets up with Carly and the Flag Smashers in New York, where they are voting for the controversial Patch Act to deal with the refugees from the snap, blip, whatever you want to call it. Blip. Batroc says, "Hey, I'm just here to kill Falcon." Carly wants more numbers for the fight. She has a weird scene where she just hits a button on her app, and just everyone in Central Park, it looks like, is like, "Oh, hey, I just happen to be conveniently placed right here."
That John Wick moment where everybody gets a text.
Well, they did it in the first episode too, where they also assembled. It could have been a planned thing. I don't know.
I just hope they were just showing someone getting just a hot dog or something from the corner, like, "Oh God, hold on, I gotta go, I'll be right here. 2 dogs, come on, I got a Flag Smasher meeting we gotta get to. Hold on."
Yeah, I saw a lot of older people too, and I'm like, "You're down with this? All right."
And so we get to them voting on the Patch Act, and looks like Flag Smashers have taken over the room, and everything goes red and black and stuff, and then fades to black right there. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, the freaking government official in the tribunal was like, "They'll believe what we tell them to believe." I'm like, a little on the nose right there, buddy. I just love that they call him government official. Like, that's pretty much what you are, buddy. Like, you don't need any, you have no other characteristics besides being a government official. So then we get to Sam opening the box from Wakanda. We look inside, and obviously we can't because it fades to black. Although Sam has like a little like pause because we all know what's in that box. It's Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
Oh,
now
shit.
I don't know what this will do
I
for
thought
the
it was
sixth
Marcellus
episode.
Wallace's soul.
So yeah, we fade to black, and we know what's in that. It's going to be Sam's Captain America outfit, and I wonder if they're going to have the wings on it or not. I don't think they are.
If it's from Wakanda, it has to be. I think they have to be vibranium wings.
Yeah, vibranium wings.
But so insane. Cool, and you definitely well. Last thing here, we have our first post credit for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Mr. John Walker watching some YouTube videos, some do-it-yourself network.
Yeah,
it's like let me make me a shield. And for those that know the comics, Mr. John Walker appears to be making his shield for his introduction as U.S. agent. And so we are set. We are setting up for a big old fight in New York. I think it's interesting at that mid-season trailer they released. They still show John in his Captain America outfit. I'm like, I think that was definitely like a red herring. I think he's definitely going to show up in his U.S. agent outfit in this next episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what an episode! What a fantastic episode this was. Yeah. Does anyone have any closing thoughts on this episode? Frank, I'm going to start with you.
Mario actually brought up something that I thought of as he said it. It was the Falcon and Winter Soldier title of the show, and it made me wonder, like, why did they call Bucky Winter Soldier? Because he's kind of shed that moniker by now, right? And I thought about it too, like, oh wait, Falcon's no longer technically Falcon anymore. So I think it's really cool that they kind of introduce these characters as Falcon and Winter Soldier, but like by the end of the season, they're that's definitely not Winter Soldier anymore, and that's definitely not Falcon. These characters are kind of coming into their own names instead of the names people have given them.
The character growth can come from the title. As you watch the show, like the title, it shows where they used to be and now where they are. Talk about growth.
Yes, exactly. That's why season 2 is going to be called Captain America and Bucky, or Captain America and White Wolf.
Bucky America.
Bucky America.
So I know he's White Wolf in the comics and stuff, but like when I hear White Wolf, I just think Geralt's going to show up out of nowhere.
I know.
He's like, what's happening? So Mario, do you have any final thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, this episode, in my opinion, is my favorite. Those two conversations, both the one with Isaiah and the one with Bucky, I think, are some of the most important scenes in the MCU as a whole, as well as important to this whole show has been a treat for me because, like I said, I adore Captain America. The fact that I have a weekly series based on Captain America in some aspects in a totally different light. The fact that I feel like Anthony Mackie has definitely come into his own and being moved from sort of this sidekick character and then being put into the forefront as someone in the mainline MCU as one of the heads of possibly the Avengers or whatever they decide to do going forward. I'm very happy. You know, he's come a long way since being Clarence in 8 Mile. So I'm actually very, very happy about that. And Bucky, who I've loved since the first movie. So I'm just happy to see his progression. And for the end of the show, I can't wait to see what the suit looks like. He's 100% going to have wings. I hope he has some stars and stripes. And he's going to be throwing that shield, and I cannot goddamn wait. In terms of John Walker, we'll see where he goes. I almost believe he won't be in the last episode as a red herring because as a like he's gonna be there, but he won't be in the last fight.
Well, I was saying like his suit, like in the trailer, he still has his Captain America suit on. So I think like maybe they put that in there.
Oh, you know what? There's that shot that I'm wondering we didn't see yet, right? Or did we see it? Of like Bucky, where is Falcon? No, that had to be later, right? There's a shot where like he's like sitting there like looking all defeated, and then like they're standing in front, but it could just be an extra shot. You know, they throw in stuff to fake us out all the time. So
unless he still kept his Captain America suit after the tribunal thing, which I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, we'll see. And I don't know. I honestly am curious because I have no idea where this will tie in later. Like, what are the threads that they're going to be supporting in the future? Other than, like I said, if it's a Thunderbolt thing, cool. Or where is Bucky and Falcon / Captain America going to end up? Like, I have no goddamn clue. Because I don't think there will be a season 2, at least not named Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm loving Phase 4 in a way where it's like we're in this interesting new void of like what is the possibilities. We have ideas, but we don't know how long it's going to take to get there. And I'm curious of like what that future will be, especially with all the little weird confirmations that we've gotten. Thanks, Alfred Molina, and obviously today we saw the Shang-Chi trailer.
Oh my god, how cool was that?
It was so cool. Dude, that kick punch thing. What was that?
Oh, so cool.
Oh my god. And then of course the 10 rings coming back, which was great. But yes, I'm just excited. It sucks though we have to wait, I guess, a little bit for Loki. I thought they were supposed to come out back to back. Loki comes out.
Or we were supposed to have Black Widow in the middle of it all just to tie us over until then, but now they got pushed off, so now we gotta wait like a month and a half for Loki. It's like, I need more stuff because Loki is looking very Doctor Who-y, and I'm fucking ready for that so much. So
yeah, I'm excited, and I guess I get some Star Wars stuff in between them. So
that's Star Wars. Who cares about the War of Stars? Bad Batch. I hope you're really good, by the way. Fiona, what about you? Your closing thoughts?
I think this was a funny episode, but also at the same time a very deep episode that highlighted a lot of things that needed to have, like we talked about, we need to have the discussion about racism, not only in the real world, but also in the MCU, as well. I'm kind of highlighting, especially with Bucky and Sam having a conversation. It's not like PTSD and mental health, especially mental health, has been a constant kind of story, or at least a piece of what's been happening, especially when it comes from, we saw it in WandaVision, and then we kind of bring it up really into this particular show as well. I'm happy to see that we were able to kind of see Bucky go from kind of closed in, not talking about his nightmares, not going to talk about like his issues or anything like that, to actually opening up to Sam and realizing like, hey, like there's a lot of things that I didn't understand, and now I'm realizing that I was essentially naive in certain regards, such as Sam taking the shield right away and taking the title of Captain America, to him realizing like, hey, like I'm not okay. and that I'm just pushing these nightmares to the side or doing what I'm doing, listening to Sam and saying like, hey, this isn't what I should be doing. This is, and yes, it is going to lead to that conversation, and I'm not prepared for next episode. There's nothing that's going to prepare us for that difficult conversation that he's going to have. But I think it's definitely showing some character growth. And just like Mario said, it is really interesting to see these two characters go from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Bucky and Sam. Just two guys. And they kind of broke it down. They're just two co-worker friends that had a common friend then that friend's gone, but now we're still kind of a thing, but at the same time, like, we'll call on each other when we need each other, and we're there for each other when we need to be. And I think that was really kind of cool, and to see him that way. So I'm really happy to see how this particular episode went. This was definitely my favorite out of all 5 episodes that we've seen. And I'm really happy to see where it was going. Even though I started to like Zemo, and I'm slightly upset that he got taken away.
We'll see him again.
We'll see him again.
We'll see him again in a white sweater.
What? What if at the end of the episode it doesn't say Captain America and Winter Soldier will be back? It'll just say Zemo will return.
That's what people want.
I'm okay with this. Also,
Black Sheep.
Also, I'm freaking U.S. agent. I'm not particularly prepared for the Canadian hating freaking person. I'm done with this guy. Like,
he's gonna get his shit wrecked again next week, I believe.
Oh, I know. Also, as a heads up, it is canon that he absolutely despises Canada and thinks it's a trash tier country.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Whoa.
We
Well,
have
as
to have
the
a conversation
Canadian
after this
here.
one.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was our discussion of episode 5, Truth of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. This part where we reach plugs. Personal plugs. I don't know why I'm snapping. I'm in a coffee shop. Let's go. Fiona, we're going to start with you. Do you have anything you'd like to plug for the listeners out there?
Absolutely. Well, you guys can check me out over at Twitter and on Twitch at Zeranix. It is right here. Also, you can check me out every weekend and in parts over at our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/point in progress, where I am a co-host with 4 crazy people, and we just talk about everything that we enjoy, nerd culture and otherwise. This week's episode was absolutely bonkers, like on fire, and by on fire I mean like it was a garbage can on fire, but in the best way possible. We love to see it. Good golly gosh. So yeah, you can find me there, and also bi-weekly every so often you can find me over at Speaking of Stadia, where I talk about Stadia because I love it.
You hear that, Aaron and Jacob? We still like you. Hey, speaking of Stadia, check that out.
Hey, Aaron, I like Stadia. Just saying.
Aaron, you hear that? Looking at you. Stop playing Fortnite. And, get Mario on the show. Frank, what you got to plug, buddy?
You can find me at Point in Progress, where I talk with some very cool Americans and a few okay Canadians. We have an episode this week. We finally hit episode 10. It was a great episode. Totally not a dumpster fire. And yeah, you can find me there.
I still haven't edited it. You have to wait on that.
You can also find me at Twitch at Kestrel1A. This week I will be playing some more Resident Evil 2. Hopefully definitely this Wednesday, maybe Friday, maybe Saturday. I'm trying to get through all the Resident Evil games before Resident Evil 8. So if you want to come follow me on that journey, you can follow me at Twitch there. And yeah, you basically just Pip in that. Oh, in Twitter. You can find me on Twitter as well at Kestrel1A.
I should probably let everyone know that these 3 do the show together. So when they talk about the idiots and stuff, they're talking about each other. So just so you're aware, everyone, that's what's happening here. Mario, what do you got to plug, my friend?
You can find me at youtube.com/thatMario Rivera, where I'm finally motivated to make some content, and I'm excited for what I'm going to make. You can also maybe potentially find me on twitch.tv/thatMario Rivera. I'm honestly kind of indifferent right now when it comes to streaming, but we'll see how that goes. But you for sure can find me at twitter.com/thatMarioRivera.
Great follow. You should do that. He also has a
Yes.
tremendous shirt.
That's
Please
right.
buy that shirt.
I'm debating on releasing one tomorrow because it's a special day. But I'm curious of how to do it.
I didn't even realize that.
Yep.
It's the 3-year anniversary of God of War. Thank you for reminding me.
Yes, it is their anniversary God of War.
So, anyway, again, my name is Eric Ginn. You can find me on Twitter at Eric C. Ginn. Do stuff here for the Penultimate Conquest. I streamed Outlast 2 last night for the first episode. I want to be in the break room when they make those games. Like, what can we do? How can we mess with people right now? But anyway, I digress. Remember, my lovely wife Tessa is streaming Bloodborne in about an hour here on twitch.tv/penultimate conquest. See how she goes. She's still liking it, so that's great. I'll let her know that you put a little heart for her, Fiona. And yeah, Eric C. Ginn on Twitter with a follow. And remember, Penultimate Conquest here, twitch.tv, Penultimate Conquest. Facebook, Penultimate Conquest, Twitter, Penultimate Conquest, basically Penultimate Conquest for everything. So, again, thank you 3 for coming on the show. I know it was kind of last minute. Thank you for, like I said, probably the best episode we've had, best discussion we've had for any Marvel show. So, thank you very much. And until we see you next week, Excelsior.
Progress is made.
Nope.
Can't say it.
Don't
Nope.
say that.
Wrong show.